Defining environments. Okay, we're going to just start right in with what we are curious about. So earlier this year, we announced that a new concept of game environments was coming to our living card games. In brief, before you begin a game of Champions, you can choose a game environment in which you play. Chosen game environment will determine what heroes and player cards you are allowed to use during that game. Okay, so no real new information there. This update provided us with an opportunity to share with you more specifics about what these game environments look like. We are establishing 3 game environments. Okay, so we were kind of speculating yesterday on that video that we posted that there was going to be 2 environments and that beta and current were the same, but it does sound like there are going to be 3. Establishing 3 environments: current environment, legacy, and the limited environment. So beta environment is not even 1. Okay, interesting. Here's a description of each along with the examples of what type of player might appeal to. Okay, so current, legacy, and limited. Current environment. I'm new to the game, or I want to play with what's new. When playing in this environment, players can use only heroes and player cards from the core set and their most recently released Champions products. As of this update, this includes the following expansions and their associated hero packs: AOA, Shield, and Civil War. That is a lot tighter than I was expecting. So basically 3 waves. When playing in this environment, players can use heroes and player cards from the core set and most recently released Marvel Champions products. Does that also include the products that are the hero packs that follow the core set? So like if we go to Hall of Heroes, I assume no, but like this is cycle 1 still. Like are these heroes? I don't think so. I think what they're saying is it's core set, and then scroll down to AOA. Oh wait, here we are. Yeah. So Age of Apocalypse. So Bishop, Magic, Iceman, Jubilee, Nightcrawler, Magneto, Nick Maria, Shuri, Silk, Falcon, Soldier, and then all the Civil War stuff. 19 heroes in total. Interesting. If you open the rules reference, there's a chat available of what you can use. Okay, cool. At the bottom of the last page. Sick. There you go. Game environments. I'm so confused. Okay, let's go back to this. When playing with each update to the rules reference, the current environment will shift to include only the most recent products. Playing within the current environment is the easiest way for a new player or group of players to get into the game. For longtime players, playing in the current environment presents an opportunity for them to test their creativity and skill by limiting the available player card pool. Veteran players will have to seek out alternatives to their most frequently used cards and experiment with cards that they may not have tried previously. Basically like standard Magic. Yeah, that's a lot tighter than I was kind of expecting it to be. Let me read the other ones before we talk too much about it. Legacy. I want to play with the whole collection. I don't want to change the way I play the game. If you want to keep playing the game as you have always played it, the Legacy environment is for you. In this environment, each player card pool, yep. Cool. Okay, so normal. And then limited environment. I want to mix and match current and legacy. I want to challenge myself with a different approach. If the idea of the current environment intrigues you, but you want to come up with your own subset of Marvel Champions products from which you customize your deck, the limited environment is for you. This highly flexible environment gives you the opportunity to get creative by choosing products you want to limit yourself. Just pick up to 3 expansion boxes and up to 10 hero packs to serve as your card pool. Okay. For greater challenge and theme, try playing only with the contents of the 3 waves and products. Do you love mutants? Go with Mutant Genesis, next in AOA. Okay. My concern is based on the player cards only. Are the villains a little bit too hard? Imagine Expert Iron Man with only those player cards. I think that's a valid concern. Um, I think that's a valid concern. My question is, who is this limit environment for? And why do we need this as a defined term in the game? I think I think if people wanted to do this, they could have already done this, and I'm not 100% sure what this provides by putting it into the rules, codifying it in the rules. Um, Other than I think this is going to cause more confusion than anything. Like I'm unless I'm missing something, this feels like a hey, you can play the game how you want to play the game, right? Limited is going to be for more for organized play. Okay, I can see that. That makes sense. Hybrid actor, I like that username. That okay, I can see that, especially if okay. Yeah, limited environment is for drafters. I want to replay the game from the beginning. It feels like the uncanny mode. Yeah. So, I think my biggest question, which okay, so we do have some Q&A. I think my biggest question that I have so far is this what is going to stay in print? Is the current environment what they are printing, or is it just I don't know. Like these have to be in print. Like they can't not print these. Which I think no, AOA is still in print. But if this is the current environment, they can't not let the current environment go out of play. Has the order of response and consequential damage changed within the new rules? For example, Honey Badger Ally, I thought the previous she could ready only affects 23 if she had remained in play after consequential damage. I don't know if it has changed. I'll be interested if it does. Typically environments are a facade to that's what it feels like. What's up, Jeff? Very much support the game staying alive in any way. If this is the only way, it's better than losing it all. That's fair. They're going to drop a rules reference every new cycle. That could be nice. My guess would be yes. I feel like if you own everything, nothing changes. If you're a new player, you can play the current environment. The other one is only for organized play. What is organized play? Events. But like, why would they limit why would they limit limit the environment for a co-op organized play? I guess, but they don't really do a lot of OP. Maybe they are trying to, maybe they want to break into OP and do more, and then that could be fun, but like they can't necessarily do a limited environment OP for the spider waves if spiders are not in print, because that gets feel bad for people who are just entering the game. So I feel like OP is the current environment always, because they're going to alienate players, and there's not a big enough player base to say we're doing OP events with a limited environment of things that are out of print. So current is core plus those expansions. Yes. These are the expansions. Maybe this is OP coming back. That's fair. I would like to see OP come back, but I feel like if I put on my FFG hat, OP is current environment. I'm not going to say, hey, you new to the game, you cannot play in this once per month event, right? Maybe they're bringing back older sets with the release of the classic game FFG announced. I could see that. I could also see that. So if they have a limited environment and they reprint it, that could make sense. OP for veteran players? But like why what I don't think that there's any reason to have an OP for veteran players, because the goal is to always be bringing new players into the game, right? And so if you say, hey, we're going to host an event for veteran players, you're going to alienate anybody who wants to play or wants to try it out. And I feel like OP is going to be the time where new players come into the game, right? Like I've been at OP events, not necessarily like, no, I have been at sanctioned OP events where we have new players at the table because it is something that the game store is putting on. And so I feel like OP is a time where you can say, hey, Marvel Champions is awesome. Come try it out. But you can't try it out unless you spend $200 on this product. Right? I guess you could proxy it. I don't think OP just has to be one mode. Right. Yeah, hybrid actor. I think very, very yes. But then what is the point of a limited environment? I think the speculation is the only reason that there is a limited environment is for OP. That's fair. You could break it up. What's up, game guy? They can do both, but I don't think they can introduce focusing on new and old players from OP from the get-go. That's fair. It just makes I think it's a really hard ask to say we are limiting to you can only basically play in this OP if you got into the game before 2022. That feels hard to ask. The limited pool I think allows FFG to limit their printing so they don't have to print anything before AOA. I think that's current. That makes a lot of sense for the current environment, but I don't get it for the limited environment. Or the limited pool. Okay, I see what you're saying. Sorry. No reason to have limited if it's not involving OP in some way. Yeah. Organized play. Sorry. Yeah, Epic Beowulf. Organized play. Basically, events that Fantasy Flight would put out and sponsor for the game. So, like a planetary qualifier in Star Wars Unlimited is an OP event. They have 0 official OP currently. They have run OP events before. With the release of Mutant Genesis, they did some, and that's where a lot of those promos came from. Wave boxes that you can buy. That's a really interesting idea, and that could make a lot of sense for a limited environment. Let's look at some of these Q&As. We've received many questions from the community. I feel like that's an understatement. Since we originally announced the game environment, so we wanted to address the most common ones here. Does the introduction of these new game environments mean I can't use older content? No. Everything will always be compatible. Everything will always be compatible, and we encourage you to play with whatever brings you joy. Only limit yourself to what is in the current environment if you want to. That does not, to me, sound like they are not balancing around the current environment. Will FFG / a later expansion ever require me to play using the current environment? Nope. I'm going to use cards every era of the game, play Legacy. Okay. Will the current environment's content always be compatible with Legacy content? Absolutely. Does my chosen game environment limit which scenarios or modulars I can use? No. This is an article saying these are the products that are staying in print. That's what they're doing. With these question and answers here, this to me, this is what is in print. Everything else is out of print. I think that's what this is saying in different words, because I don't think that the Legacy and limited environments make any sense other than this is what's in print. Yeah, I think I'm going to just continue to do what I'm already doing as well. There may be sometimes this is the discussion that I have to think about more now that I have an understanding of what the current environment is and what content on the channel looks like going forward. But I don't know. I feel like I'm going to play with my cards that I bought. I want to see if they raise the bar for player cards, because I think the villains could be really hard using only that card pool. That is true. It's also slightly weird that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is this. So we have Avenger, Web Warrior, Wakanda. But like Web Warrior is not a trait with the current environment that we have. Avenger kind of is. It doesn't have too much synergy with what we've printed. Wakanda never really was a trait, but it's interesting. It's kind of fun to think about this. Like, we have team up cards with T'Challa and Spider-Man, and so those are all in the current environment. So they did that well at least. Um, reprint aspects in an aspect box. I think that the goal is to help make entering the game more manageable. Yeah. Mm. So my gut reaction to that, the goal is to help make entering the game more manageable. Yes. I don't think this does that though. I don't think that there's any change necessarily other than saying we have rebranded out of print to say like to call it legacy because it's nicer to say out of print than it is, or it's nicer to say legacy than out of print. Right? I don't think that nothing changed. Nothing changed other than we now have a name for it. So it's not inherently easier or harder to get into the game. Does that make sense? Am I thinking about that correctly? How can we make it easy to figure out what cards I can use in current because all my cards are mixed together? Yeah. I think my plan was to add another dot. I use kind of my storage my storage situation and put a dot on the other side of the card and say that this is current environment. I think all this falls flat unless they go hard with OP going forward. Why make a deal about something? People will just make their own rules. Yeah. I think it is easy for new. No. Oh yeah. Okay. Yes. It's easy for new player. Just 3 boxes. But yesterday it was still just 3 boxes, right? Like to get into the game, I guess 4 with the core. Those were the box. These are the boxes that are available to buy, and now we just have a name that says, "Hey, these are the boxes that were available to buy." Maybe it makes it a little. Does it make it easier or harder for new players getting into the game? I guess the current. My current initial gut reaction is that current environment, legacy environment, and limited environment is more confusing to new players that have an understanding of a board game marketplace than these products are out of print. Right? But now it's more clearly defined. But I think my gut reaction is that the definition is more confusing than out of print. Problem is for new players, they are buying Marvel game without any of the big hitters like Avengers or X-Men. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think anything changed for you as a new player. Extra dot for legacy makes more sense. That's a lot of cards. That's a lot of cards. I will play legacy, but if I want to play current, I will use Marvel C. I bet. Oh, I could see CDB implementing something to have information around what is current legacy. Yeah. Okay. I've said it before. I think that the vault announcement might include some character. Yeah, I could see that. That is, I think, pretty likely. No, I'm not trying to. I don't think that this is a bad thing. This is not a bad thing. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. I'm not saying that this is bad, that I don't like this. I'm just saying that I'm more confused as to why these are happening. Because I think if they had said the current environment is what we are playtesting around, that makes a lot more sense to me. But that is not what they are saying. And that's what I always assume that they would be saying. They do say that? I thought that they said primarily with the current environment in mind. Okay. That makes a little bit more sense, I guess. Everything will always be compatible with what came before. Yeah. I still think it's easier for new players. Okay. Yeah. And I'm not saying I'm right. This was just how I think of it, but I also know that I am not the person to evaluate what is not confusing about this game, considering I live and breathe this game, right? So I don't necessarily have a great understanding of how someone who does not have a very intimate knowledge with this game would like approach this. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Interesting. So I don't understand the limited environment, but the current environment and legacy environment, those make sense. When did AOA come out? 2024. So we are looking at about a year and a half of current environment. Okay. 2 years. 2 years of current environment. But Deadpool is, yeah. So it's the last 2 years. It's the last 2 years is what is the current environment. The argument for making it easier for new players, it helps you draw a line, but you look online, the new players, for inspiration, everyone's using old cards. And that's where I need to kind of figure out where and how I want to do content on my channel. If I'm going to label it, or if I'm just going to only do legacy, if I'm only going to do current. I don't know. That's something that I need to give a think to. If you have any suggestions, yeah. I wonder at what point the new environment ticks over and the Age of Apocalypse disappears. My guess would be yearly. My guess is that yeah, the way that they have it lined up, we have street level defenders coming out next year, and the entire wave should be complete next year. So my guess is that they're going to stick with the same thing that SWU does, and it's every 2 years. The last 2 years is the current environment, which is, I think basically what it is. These are the products that are in print. I feel like doing current specific content can help existing new players, but also bring in new players. Yeah. Make people interested and less intimidated. Okay, I like that. I know you guys talked about the cadence not being sped up with releases, but technically we just got Civil War due to delays, and we're getting a box in the summer. Maybe another in 6 to 7 months. 1 week of Legacy, 1 week of Current. Oh, that would hurt my brain so much.